going to ask you to sum up your experience of MWC26 in one word. DR, what's your word of the week?
Agentic.
I've not heard that all week.
Right? I mean,
It's taken us about 2 minutes to start talking about
a little bit, yeah. I think operators are really trying to figure this out. I think people are still talking about what it could be or what it will be, but it's here, and it's going to be a big deal.
This is Telco in 20, a podcast that helps telco execs achieve a competitive advantage with AI in the public cloud. It is hosted by Danielle Rios, also known as DR. Today's episode features DR's wrap-up with Mobile World Live after MWC26 in Barcelona.
Hi guys, I'm DR. I just got back from MWC, and I have to say, I totally called it. Back in February, I predicted agentic AI would dominate the show. Every keynote, every stand, every hallway conversation, agentic. The word was everywhere. But here's what struck me. Most of the industry is still in exploration mode, talking about what agentic could be, what it will do, someday. My other observation at MWC is that the telecom stack is moving up the software layer, and fast. Hyperscalers are positioning their clouds as the operating system for AI-driven network operations. Satellite networks are turning coverage into infrastructure that telcos can source instead of build. And AI is lowering the cost of building telco software itself. When infrastructure becomes easier to outsource, competitive advantage no longer comes from owning networks. It comes from how well you run the business on top of them. Your BSS, your data, your customer logic, those aren't back office systems anymore. They're your moat or your vulnerability. At MWC, I stopped by the Mobile World Live podcast to break it all down. I joined host Justin Springham, managing news editor Kavit Majithia, and analyst Carolina Milanesi from Creative Strategies. We got into agentic AI hype versus reality, the satellite land grab operators should be paying attention to, plus the real word of the week, and it wasn't 6G. This episode is a special double drop. The Mobile World Live podcast and Telco in 20 are both releasing it. 2 audiences, 1 conversation, no filter. So let's take 20.
Welcome to a very special edition of the Mobile World Live podcast. MWC26 Barcelona is a wrap. We are absolutely exhausted, but we're going to try and find a few last reserves of energy to review what has been an awesome week at the world's biggest mobile tech event. To help me make sense of everything and hopefully offer some tips for recovery, I've got a great lineup of guests today. I'm your host, Justin Springham, but let me introduce our lineup. Now, it wouldn't be an MWC these days without Totogi's Danielle Rios. DR, great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Justin.
Thank you for joining us. I'm also joined by another friend of Mobile World Live, analyst Carolina Milanesi. Carolina, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
And we can't have a Mobile World Live podcast without our very own Kavit Majithia. Kavit's been on the TV all week. Kavit, how's the voice? Is it holding up?
It is holding up. Justin, I was wondering why you were saying you're so tired. I've been doing most of the work this week.
That is a fair enough point, actually. Yes, we promoted Kavit last year and it was a good decision. Look, here we are, last day of MWC. As I said, we're all pretty exhausted, so we're going to try and find that last bit of energy. I'm going to ask you to sum up your experience of MWC26 in one word. Kavit?
Yeah, so Mobile World, it was live. I would say live. Because it was constantly live on the telly. We do everything in real time. We try and cover everything as it happens. So yeah, I would say live was my experience.
Good word. Carolina, MWC for you?
Uncertain. Not as the show itself, but the industry has more questions than answers right now, whether it is the memory issue or the geopolitical situation. And of course, a lot of people that did not make it here because of the Iran war. It feels uncertain. We need to get grounded and move forward.
Live, uncertain. DR, what's your word of the week?
Agentic.
I've not heard that all week.
Right? I mean,
It's taken us about 2 minutes to start talking about
a little bit, yeah. I think it was in a lot of the speeches. I think it was in the keynotes. I think it's written on a lot of booths. I think operators are really trying to figure this out. I think people are still talking about what it could be or what it will be, but it's here and it's going to be a big deal. It's going to change the way that everyone interacts with their phone and a computer. I don't know that we're going to have mice and text fields where we're typing anymore. We're going to talk to these things. And so that's a big change for not only the way we work, but the way that we live in society. And with your mobile phone, you spend so much time on that thing. We have to think about how that experience is going to change.
Fantastic. So
What's
there we
yours?
go. Mine,
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what word describes how I feel or how the event feels. And to your point, Cav, we are on TV literally 12 hours a day. Personal experience, personal highlights. Now, DR, when we did the preview podcast, you were very excited about something called, not paddle, because you corrected me that I pronounced it wrongly, it's padel, apparently. You put out a call to kick Sunday off with a padel competition.
Yeah.
How did that go?
You know, it was really, really great. We hosted at this amazing club that is run and owned by basically the Federer of Padel. He was like ranked #1 for 16 years in Padel. And so it was a really interesting way to bring people together because the way that we set up the tournament or the experience, you didn't have to show up on time. You didn't have to stay the whole time. You didn't have to be good at it or know anything about it. Like beginners could join as well as really experienced people. And it was 16 points in the off the court. So it kept everyone timed together. We didn't have long matches and short matches. And because you kept changing partners, you had a natural reason to go talk to someone that you didn't know.
Yeah.
So what's your name?
Good networking.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing people said. I met way more people in a very natural way. And are you going to do this again next year? And I'm like, we might. So calling all racket sports people, I think it's a really cool way. You know, hopefully the weather's nice, but it was covered, so we were protected on the elements. It's just get out and run a little bit before MWC. We provided the rackets. You just had to bring your trainers and an outfit. It was awesome.
Next year, we'll need to tell the team we're not doing any work on Sunday.
Or like wrap it up,
We're gonna
right?
go play
Like,
padel.
yeah.
Carolina, personal highlight, anything stand out for you? Aside from the headlines and things, which we'll get to, was there anything on a personal
From a
level?
personal level, two things. I think I had the best pizza in Spain ever at one of the food courts here.
Here, at the Fira?
Yes.
Wow, that's
yes,
quite something.
there's a wooden oven pizza place. I think you're up your game with all the food
Change
around.
caterers, I guess,
Yes, yes. You know, no seriousness. It's always nice to connect with people. You know, I was based here, now I'm in the States, so every time I come back, it's nice to see people I used to work with, reporters I still in contact with, and just the breadth of people and languages. And I never appreciated the diversity that's here as much as I have this year for obvious reasons.
Good stuff, positive.
Nice
Have
message,
it.
yeah.
Any personal highlights?
Well, I spoke about the TV, how much we've done. So we've been on the show floor quite a lot. So I think I can sum it up with two things. So I was on the show floor doing a lot of video stuff, checking out connected ambulances, ceramic vases that are made by robots, and like an olive tree that went through a scan that helps them harvest stuff and checks the temperature and all that, and it makes it grow better. And then on the flip side, I also interviewed the Federal Communications Commission chair, Brendan Carr. So you get
One end of the spectrum
to the other, right? Yeah, so you have hard-hitting policy for that interview, and then you have all this other cool tech stuff that you see on the show floor. And I think that sums up MWC quite well.
Wow.
You get
And this year we didn't really stitch Kavit up actually. Last year, what happened?
still trying.
Well, there's still a few hours left.
There's a pink
and
suit that needs to be worn by.
Yes, there is a very bright suit that one of us has to wear later. But last year, Kavit had to do K-pop dancing live on TV. That was
Justin talks about it every day as well.
yes, I know.
Reminds me, right? Reminds you of it.
Yeah, it does.
So there's our personal highlights, personal experiences. But in terms of news headlines, I was on a panel this morning and I asked one of the analysts to sum up the news feed this week. And I thought she gave a really good word. She just said measured. And I said, OK, expand. And she said, well, there's not really been any one big announcement. It's been just good amounts of news and good amounts of progress, but nothing that blew away. She said a couple of years ago we had Open Gateway, and we've had Musk on stage before, but no real massive rock star this year. DR, if I ask you about your news headlines, I've got a feeling it's going to be AI, around AI.
Well, just talking about the news at MWC, we talked in the preview about, will 6G be a big topic? And I don't really pay attention to that as much because it doesn't really affect me as a software vendor. But there was a surprising lack of that, probably to the chagrin of the Ericssons and the Nokias and the Huaweis of the world. And I think lots of news around direct-to-device satellites. Yes. Gwen Shotwell is an amazing woman who's running SpaceX. Mm-hmm. And the Starlink announcement that she made, making a specific point that they're not challenging the terrestrial networks, ... yet, right? I mean,
yet we've rebranded to Starlink Mobile. I think that's to emphasize that because they put that in the name.
Could have been worse. Could have been Musk Mobile, I suppose.
And it's super interesting. You see all these big operators signing up with them. They definitely have helped out in big disaster wars that have happened or floods and natural disasters. So it's super useful. It absolutely works. It is fast enough. People love it. You know, places where it's geographically difficult to build a terrestrial network, but operators have owned infrastructure forever. And, you know, is this the right move? And I think we need to really think through that, right?
Yeah, and actually, one of the things that's telling as well, I think it was a call by the GSMA today that said, we got to a point now where the satellite industry needs regulating in terms of how it interacts with mobile. So, Cav, we got to a point where it's got big enough for us. And what was the quote from Margarita Della Valle?
Wild West. We must avoid a Wild West in the skies. Yeah, that was great. Margarita Della Valle. So she was, I think the satellite news really kicked off the show, didn't it? Because we had Vodafone on stage with astronaut Tim Peake. Yeah. And they're talking about the ASD joint venture, and they announced a big thing on Friday. You sent me something on Friday when I was...
Friday before the show.
When I was on
Friday
my
morning.
Flight, Justin sending me news stories.
Yeah. The Friday before MWC is the only day that Mobile World Live doesn't publish any news all year.
And
basically.
Christmas Day.
And Christmas. Yeah, we have Christmas Day off.
Oh, congratulations.
And then there was this big story that we didn't
it was a big
cover.
story. They'd signed up Orange and Telefonica, and Deutsche Telekom were also working with them. So, yeah, it was a big story to kick off, and then she obviously did the keynote and fleshed out more details about the joint venture. And then we had SpaceX on after, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is SpaceX building a software-defined, vertically integrated global network? Yeah. Yes, you still need those relationships with the operators, but the operators have done the hard work on the spectrum and all that stuff, and they get to bypass it. And so, you know, are they building a global telco? Now, I don't think that's really their goal. It's just going to be a byproduct. I think they're really trying to figure out connectivity on Mars or the moon. You laugh, but it's totally, they have to solve it. And they're experimenting with Earth. And so I don't think it's their goal to do that, but is it going to be the side effect of what's happening?
Yeah, I get the connectivity on the moon, but talking about getting to a point where humans live on it and need it, that seems another kind of...
Would you be able to access TikTok on Mars, Justin?
The number of times this week Kavit has accused me of being an avid TikTok fan, and I keep telling him...
You need to look hard.
I'm too old for TikTok.
Are you a scroller? You're a scroller.
I'm a scroller, but not on TikTok. Okay, I'm an Instagram scroller. Yeah. Carolina, what stood out? Anything else? We've covered the fact that 6G wasn't particularly huge this week. AI, obviously, satellite. Anything else stand out for you?
I want to piggyback on what my fellow analyst said about being measured. Yeah. It feels like there was a lot of groundwork being done, whether it was the talk of 6G or Qualcomm with their Wear Elite new platform for personal AI. I think we're trying to get to a point where AI makes sense, where you can monetize from it, where you're bringing customers, whether they're enterprise or consumers, along in this journey while building the infrastructure that you're going to need in order for AI to actually deliver. And so I think you cannot get overexcited. Consumers are already pretty scared about AI. And so I think that really pitching high and overpromise is not going to work because there's already a lot of tension. So I think that measured approach is just a mean to an end to try and really get people behind AI in a positive way.
I spent a lot of people on the AI side, and the way that they're using their phone now, right? Just my own son, who's 20 years old, who codes with AI. He'll just pick up his phone and he talks to it. He dictates to the phone to Claude code that's then connected to Cursor, and he kicks off whatever change he wants in the software. And he'll do that while he's driving. He'll do it while he's walking. He's like literally coding and living. And it's just such a different way of interacting. There's a guy that works for me that told me at dinner, he's like, yeah, I use this OpenClaw thing to search Twitter for people complaining about bad products. And then I kick off a service to rewrite that product into a mobile app, put it on the App Store, and then start trying to sell downloads. And I was like, have you made any money? And he's like, no, but it pings him every 30 minutes. It pings him on his phone and gives him an update. The agents tell on each other, like, he didn't do it right. And this one didn't follow the steps that you prescribed. I mean, these are the people I hang out with. I mean, it's like, I'm like, this is insane, right? My own kids, right? They just sit there and talk to it. I have a Tesla. I have Grok in my car.
Okay.
And I'll be driving down the street and I just hit Grok and I'm like, what's going on with this topic? And I can interact with it. Or if I have like a random question, it's going to change the way we live and work.
It's interesting you mentioned OpenClaw because that came up in a keynote.
Yeah.
About the Meta person who asked OpenClaw agent to clean up her email account. And it literally deleted everything. And,
Really?
And then she told it to stop, and it wouldn't. And then the whole thing was about the dangers of AI.
Yeah, OpenClaw got a lot of noise on Twitter because everyone loves it, and it's super easy to use, and you don't have to go through some of the machinations of setting up Cloud Code and Cursor, and so it's making it very easy for non-technical people to create.
Okay.
But it also is very powerful. It's a little bit of a dangerous knife, and so there was a lot of like security stuff and rogue stuff going on.
Yep.
They'll lock that down. I think it got bought by OpenAI.
I did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it got bought, and that was 5 minutes of awesomeness. I think it's like $100 million company or whatever in like 3 minutes, and you're just like, I hate you.
But your example of what you can do with AI agents, in my opinion, pushes us to think differently about addiction.
Yeah.
Now we're addicted to social media, which is not most of the time particularly useful. Certainly doesn't make much money for you. But if you're thinking about having the agents and what you can do and the fact that they work 24/7, what is that going to do to us in terms of both being disciplined, not chasing everything that we can just because of AI, but actually understanding beforehand what is worth chasing and what isn't. And then from a work perspective, it's okay when you're running your own business, but when you're an employee, how does that change work and the demands on you as an employee because the agent keeps on working, the agent doesn't get sick, they don't go out on maternity leave. Or...
We've always talked about the 10x employee and the 10x engineer in software. You can literally set up 10 pipelines of development. And the average person, let's say 2 weeks of vacation, is working about a 2,000 hour, at least in the United States, work week. I have 10 agents. That's 20,000 hours of work that one person can accomplish. It's just a whole new pace. That is the future. Yeah. And so some people are like fighting it. I'm like, you can't fight it at all. This is just the new way of working. I'm sure that people felt this way when we moved to having a personal computer on the desktop in the 80s. I was 10 when that happened, but I'm sure people were really upset that you're like, I can type and print and I don't have to use a typewriter. And so we are going through probably the biggest work shift we've seen, at least as Gen Xer, born in 1970. It's huge. And so you have to become commander of that. That's how we have to shift and just embrace it.
The agent won't get the MWC lurgy that you're going to get next week as well, Justin.
No. Every single week after MWC, I come down with something. So.
See, we used to do the review episode.
Oh, yes.
And you should hear one episode.
I barely have any voice left. This is why we're doing the review this week and not next week. Exactly. Did anyone grab any decent swag? Any freebies on the show floor?
There are also plush toys, but you had to sit through a half-an-hour presentation.
Oh, just to get a toy.
Oh, really?
There's a panda backpack over there on YOFC, and I thought I'd take one for my daughter. But you had to go through a line, and then there's a roulette machine. You have to press the button, and then there's 4 prizes, and I didn't win. So
You didn't?
It was a waste of time.
Oh.
So we weren't giving these out as swag. It's one of these football scarves with a togi, and I brought one for each of you guys.
Oh, that's very
right?
Thank
And
you.
so I always do a little present for the team because it's so rare that we're together. My team is spread out all over the world, and so MWC really is a collection point for us and a connection point. So the team made these scarves, and I was like, scarves, really? Do you think the guys are going to like a scarf? And everyone's wearing it. So we had some extra, and I brought one for each of you guys.
That's amazing. Well, we're going back to a gloomy
still
London,
cold, yeah.
gloomy London winter.
Yeah, maybe to
DR,
save
so.
you and maybe help you with your illness and the one you might get in a couple of days. You know, Barry Freipink from McKinsey wears a scarf all the time because he lived in Singapore and was getting sick all the time because of like maybe the air conditioner and then the humidity. And now someone's recommended wear a scarf even in Singapore, and it stopped him from getting sick. So maybe Justin, next year you're gonna be like wrapped in the Totoki scarf here,
branded scarf.
right? So you're like, I'm Barry from McKinsey here. Yeah.
Well, look. Thank you very much for the scarf. We have something for the two of you as well.
Awesome.
Producer Ben is walking over
He's
now.
modelling it as well.
Here we go. Look, we have a Mobile World Live gilet.
Look at that.
Yes.
Carolina, there is your Mobile World Live
Thank
gilet.
you.
DR gets one too.
That's
Kavit
awesome.
and I have been wearing these all week as well. Not these two particular ones. These two.
got
These two are clear.
Next year, I'm going to come here and walk all around with these guys so I can get access to all sorts of behind the scenes.
Backstage passes.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right? I'm like, no, I'm
Have the line with
I'm with
everything.
I'm Mobile World Live, guys. Let me do.
We joked about this earlier, but in terms of recovering from this crazy week, and actually these days, MWC is not a week. It kind of feels as though as soon as you come back from Christmas and New Year, you spend all of January prepping, and Kavit and I had for some reason, it was my stupid idea to spend the whole of February doing a preview month. So we would produce...
fun.
Yes! Kavit was like, please
content
never
you
do
put
this
out."
again, Justin. This is the worst idea you've ever had. We had to produce original content every day. So yeah, it feels as though MWC is 2 months long these days. We joked earlier that I always get sick next week. Has anyone got any tips for how we can all make sure that we don't come down with the dreaded post-MWC lurgy?
Gave me a week off, Justin.
Oh, did I say that? Is that for all the overtime you've done the last couple of months, Carolina, are you just going to sleep for the next week?
Well, maybe for the weekend. But yeah, sleep, I think, is the best thing. Resting your feet. And for me, is getting back to my 4 cats and just reconnect with something that is not technology.
I was going to say, and putting
not
your
a
phone
gadget.
down. Maybe.
Putting my phone down.
Your detox.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
And no, you can't have a week off, Kavit.
Oh, then I have nothing else. I'm just going to be knackered all week.
You got a holiday coming up soon anyway.
I have.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, look, thank you very much for joining us. I think we did a pretty good job there wrapping up everything that's happened in the last week in about 30 or so minutes. It's been great to have your company.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. DR, Carolina, Kavit.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks for listening.